So now we have this code for writing into the Facebook email ID. Let's try to run this. Let's open the browser. Then we'll manually navigate to facebook.com. Okay, now we want to write into this password field. So we need to know the properties and values of this password field. So I click on this hand sign and click on the password field. So now the class name that I know is WebEdit. The same class name, the HTML ID is this time PASS, pass. Let's copy this and put it here. And we can keep everything. Browser, the page, the class name is WebEdit. This time the HTML ID is PASS, pass. We can put anything here, some sort of password, some invalid login credentials, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm not putting a quotation because I don't need a quotation for just numbers. For letters and numbers, for a combination, we need a quotation. For just numbers, I do not need a quotation. Okay, so let's close the browser. I have another step I did not perform. I did not click on. Let me go back to facebook.com. So I did not click on this login. So let's do that. Let's try to read the properties and values of this login. Is that a web edit? Let's see. I click on the login with my hand sign. I can see the class name is different. The class name is WebButton. Class name is WebButton. It is WebButton, not a web edit, and the HTML tag is input. What else do we have? Let's see, the value, and the value is, we can use the value login. Okay, so let's go back to that. Let's go back to that and click on that. Again, this is within a browser and a page. The web table, we do not have to specify. We can keep the browser and page and skip the web table. If, in case, the object is not getting identified, in that case, you can use the web table. For now, we'll skip the web table. For now, we are saying within a browser, within a page, we have a web edit, and do something with that web edit field. So I go back to the login web button. Let's use the class name as WebButton and use the value as login. Okay, login. So I keep the browser and the page. Since that button is presented within a browser and a page, so I say browser.page.webButton. This time it's a web button. And what is the class name? The class name is WebButton. So what is the value? The other property we are using is the value property. The value of this property is log in. Close the quotation, close the bracket. And do we say .set in here? We do not, because we can set a value to a web edit object. We can set a value to a web edit object. We can set something here. Can we set something here? Can we really write something in the login? This is a web button. We cannot really write anything here. We can only click on it, right? Right? We can click on this web button. So if I say a dot and a SET set, this option will not even come up. There are some recommendations that will come up. QTP will make suggestions, but this won't even come up because this is an invalid entry. If we try to run this, QTP will give us an error. So what we have to say, .click. As we can see, QTP is recommending click. These are the actions you can perform on a web button. You can click on it, you can capture bitmap, you can check property, you can drag it, you can right-click on it. So this time we'll click on it. So we are navigating to Facebook, writing email and password, waiting for 2 seconds. Let's wait for 2 seconds after writing email and password. Clicking. Then we have this code here for closing the browser. Let's run this. Let's close the browser first. Well, I already have this one facebook.com browser open. Let me run this before we even close the browser, so you'll know why I am closing the browser before running the test. So I try to run this test, click on run. Let's see what happens. So it navigates to facebook.com, and now I'm expecting it to write the email and password and click on login. But that is not happening. So let's wait for QTP to let us know what went wrong, that it is not writing into those fields. Okay, QTP is telling me that it cannot find the object, so make sure that this object is presented. I'll click on stop. The reason QTP did not find that web button is because there are 2 web buttons. One in here and one in here. There are 2 email ID and password fields because there are 2 browsers open. I have the same browsers open at the same time, and QTP is confused as to which one we are talking about, this one or this one. This is why we close the browsers. And we'll run this test and see what happens. So it navigates to Facebook. It's writing the email and password, waiting for 2 seconds, clicking on login, waiting for 2 seconds, and closing the browser. It's closing all the open tabs within the browser. So this is our test. This is our code for putting in invalid credentials. This is our first descriptive programming in QTP. We can actually use some variables instead of putting these values directly in here. So we already understand the concept of variables. So what we can do is, in the beginning of the test, we can say email ID is equal to this value in here. So I cut it, I put it in here, and I can say password is equal to this value. I'll cut it from here and put it here. So email ID is equal to this, password is equal to this. And instead of writing these values directly in here, we can use the variables. So just like storing a number in your phone, I'm storing this number in my phone book as this name. Okay? So putting that email and putting the password value and putting pass_word. And the value of pass_word is this right here, okay? So let's run this test and see what happens. So do we expect QTP to write email ID in the email ID box? No. We expect it to write this value. So run this, and let's see what happens. Facebook.com, entered the email, entered the password, the expected value, and closed the browser, and now it's stopping the run. So in the next video, we'll continue to enhance our QTP descriptive programming and going deeper and deeper. Thank you.